Survivor Specialist Phil and Alexa are back with our episode 2 predictions and power rankings. We have one episode of Survivor season 43 in the books. Mariah has been sent home. We're down to 17 people. This is our power rankings game. So if you're a $20 patron, you can play in this game. Essentially, every week you're going to send in your power rankings the same way that we do ours. And you're going to get points, and whoever ends up with the lowest point total at the end of the year ends up getting a buff, one from us. So good times ahead for anybody who thinks that they're going to win. And if you don't think you're going to play anyway, because we have perennial losers who play every single time because they're $20 patrons, and it's fun and it's enjoyable. And I think I almost won it last year, but Alex Trias beat me at the very last second, which was totally a bummer. I think that was the closest I'd ever been to winning this game, but we'll see how it goes this season. Alexa, 17 people left. This is normally like the longest podcast we do ever because we have to talk about all 17 of them. Not even long, just like feels like we have to mention so many people and we have nothing really to go on, which just makes it a little bit difficult.
Yeah, that's the thing. Time-wise, like it's not necessarily long, but it feels like it's long just because I don't really have much to say about each person. And I feel like there's two people who I think are super safe, and then a lot of people are pretty safe, and then like three are not so safe.
Yeah, it's always hard to tell like right after the beginning, right? Like, who's actually safe, who's not. Cody was like a huge star of the first episode. Now in the preview, they're talking about voting him out. Ellie had a great first episode, but we've seen people with great first episodes go home in episode 2 before. So hard to base it on this, but the way you're ranking them is your number 1 is who you think is the safest. Your number 2 is who you think is the second safest. And then your 17 is who you think is going home. So it's actually the most points. I said that backwards. Whoever gets the most points wins. This isn't like the boot list.
Yeah, you want high for this, low for boot list, high for prop bet.
Exactly. So 17 points is what you're looking for. So if you're I don't know, if you're thinking Noel's going to go home, put her at 17, and if she does go home, you get 17 points. So Alexa, why don't you start it off? Because you said there's like 2 or 3 people you think are very safe, and I'm curious who those 2 or 3 people are.
I know. I sold that in a way that's going to confuse you. So I actually have Janine at number 1. Janine is somebody who originally was not even chosen for our fantasy leagues. But I think out of that, first of all, that tribe very well might not go back to tribal council. All the other tribes seem to have plenty of drama in order to do that. Like you said in the preview, or like you said in the recap, that this may have been what this tribe needed to stay strong. And if they do go back to tribal council, you still have Gabler, who, he has an idol, but I really don't know if he would play it.
You would hope.
You have Sammy, who has a lot going on. You have Owen, who already got votes, and Ellie, who just controlled the vote, and that could put her in trouble too. So oddly enough, I actually think Janine is probably the safest person this week.
Well, so I'm putting Gabler because I have to assume that with a 2-week idol that he already went through 1. Now, if he goes to tribal, he has to play it, right? Like he has to. There's no way he's not going to play it, right? Like there's no way he's not going to play it.
I don't know about that.
I mean, it is hard, right? Because if this was anybody else, it would be like no brainer, put him at number 1, move on. But after whatever he said with the shot in the dark and everything, I don't know if he was bluffing. I don't know what he was doing. See, I want to think he was bluffing, but then he comes out with the confessional that totally made it seem like he wasn't bluffing. So I don't know what his thought process was. It doesn't matter. He has an idol. He's the only person in the game with an idol. His idol is good only for his next tribal council. And everybody knows he has it. So even if they want to vote him out, they're all going to have to assume that he's going to play it, right? Like there's no way they're going to be confident enough that this guy isn't going to play an idol that he literally can only play at that tribal council to put votes on him and risk potentially going home. So I have Gabler at number 1. There's no way.
Wow. Okay. I get it. I'm totally with it. I have him a little bit lower just because I don't fully buy it. And we have a very wild precedent with Chris Noble of this also not happening, but completely correct move there. Number 2, I jumped to the blue tribe because I still don't know the tribe. Oh, this one is Coco because to me that's like
the easiest,
a very weird but easy name.
Yellow is Baca and red is
Vessi.
Okay, good.
Vessi.
Cool.
Okay,
it's
cool.
like Vessi from the challenge. That's how I
obviously. Also, shout out to Danny McRae.
Yeah,
huge shout out.
And Sarah, they both won.
Oh, you see this? How little I know about the challenge. I didn't know you could win twice.
Yep.
Or two people could win. I
Yep.
have Carla at number 2. So trying to diversify, having one person from every tribe at the top. Carla is very much in the middle, but she seems to be aware that she's in the middle. They have a precedent of not losing this challenge, so they very well could win the immunity challenge. But I do think everyone's going to go to her, and maybe she would be in trouble if they went to tribal council and she survived because she would have to pick a side. But I think for right now, everyone's going to want her. So I have her at number 2. And she has a vote, which for a lot of people is a big deal.
Well, my biggest concern for Carla is just that, like I said it in the recap, she literally announced that she has a alliance with every single person on her tribe. But she didn't say it in an ironic way, like Jesse was talking about in his, where it was like, hey, I can go this way or I can go that way. Carla was like, I can go with all of them. And it's like, wait.
Kinda.
I'm out. How are you going to do that? And I really do think that I think Carla's got some longevity to her, but it's what's preventing me from keeping her up there. I do have Jesse at number 2 because I feel like Jesse was very involved in every conversation that was going on. I think he is ultimately going to be the one who decides who goes home on his tribe. I think that was established in this first episode. I think he's playing quiet and under the radar enough that people aren't going to look at him. And if Red does go to tribal, which they kind of tried to make it seem like in the preview Red was going to go, they brought up Cody's name. Dwight doesn't have a vote, and Noel and Justine are on the outside. I think Neca and Jesse are pretty safe on that tribe. I'm going to put Jesse up here just because I think he's got a lot more longevity. Neca, I will have pretty high up, but I don't have her as high just because we didn't see as much from her in this first episode.
I also have Jesse at number 3 for really similar reasons. I think he's the Carla of his tribe, but I think just his personality seems to be like fairly subdued. And I think early on, that's exactly what you're looking for.
That is exactly.
My number 4 is also on the same tribe. I have Noel at number 4, which is probably kind of high, but I think that tribe has, they have the preview because Cody's like a hot mess, but I don't think they're going to go home. I think they're really good at challenges. Noel, Cody, Jesse, everyone's proven to be good in the first few challenges that they've had together. And the attention isn't really going to be on her. She automatically has Justine. The two of them seem to have paired off. So even if her name does come up, she's going to have somebody tell her. So I think she's fine for right now.
Yeah, it's tough with Noel and Justine because they were the quieter of the two sides in the first episode. What that means, I don't really know. I mean, it could ultimately mean nothing, but it's preventing me from keeping them so high up. At number 3, so you got a little ahead of me there on number 3. No, it's all right. I have Lindsay. And then at number 4, I have James. And mainly because they just kind of paired off. And I think that, I don't know, I just don't see them getting voted out if their tribe loses right away here because they had an alliance. And then Carla seems to like them, even though Carla might like Gio a little bit more. But we just saw what happened in this last episode. Friendships and alliances kind of went to the wayside when it came to like doing what you think is ultimately going to win you the game. And I think Carla would probably be more comfortable working with Lindsay and James than kind of like putting her game at risk for Gio. I mean, look at what happened last season on the Blue Tribe. When Zach got voted out first, his closest ally goes and finishes 3rd place in the game. So like, I think that, and then you go back to heroes, healers, hustlers. Blue Tribe, Katrina, who they made it seem like was Chrissy's closest, goes home first. Chrissy goes on to be second. Like, I just don't think Carla is going to put her neck on the line for anybody this early.
Yeah.
So I think Lindsay and James, they're both stronger. I think they're, even though James struggled definitely in that challenge a little bit, I still think he's one of the stronger people on that tribe. And then Lindsay's just getting winner quote after winner quote. And then what I liked about Lindsay's edit in the first episode was we had all these like really strong quotes from her. And then we had her talking about how it kicked her ass right off the bat. And that was surprising to her. And she's going to have to adapt and do more. I think that's a great quote because adaptability is like the number one thing in Survivor. So I think that was really good for her. So I have the two of them pretty high up. I also think Red is going to tribal based on what the preview is telling me. So that's why I'm a little bit higher on these Blue Tribe people. And the Yellow Tribe people, it's hard to be like too high on anybody just because they're so Like
Mhm.
every tribe that loses first is always susceptible to going to tribal council again.
Exactly. Yeah. I have a similar next few, but I won't jump too far ahead of you. For my number 5, I have Ryan. You're just talking about how adaptability is really important in Survivor, and we saw him do that really off the bat with that challenge back at camp. I think he's somebody who's going to be a challenge asset, but he also isn't like particularly showy or like I'm the big man, even though he is like very muscular and like going to be good in challenges. So I think Ryan is in a really good place. And I think we saw him bonding with Gio a bit during that challenge. So I think Ryan's going to be completely fine. And I go to James for number 6. So same reason as you for James. I think he's in a really good spot.
Cool. So my number 5 is Ellie, who was the kingpin of episode 1. And here's my thing with Ellie. Everybody kind of on the internet was getting on, oh, you're going for strength, and that means you vote out a woman because you're assuming women aren't as strong. I don't think Ellie wanted to vote off based on strength. I think that was just her easy, alibi for doing this. However, I do think that Ellie, Justine, and Gabler are probably going to remain in alliance here, and Owen just needs to survive long enough. I think Ellie got rid of Mariah because Mariah might have been a little too gung-ho on an all-women's alliance. And I think that what Ellie saw was, well, if our tribe starts to disappear, very rarely do you have a chance. Like, you're not always going to pull a Malcolm and Denise. Like, more often than not, you're going to be in the Romeo position where your tribe gets decimated and then you just get third place because there's nowhere else for you to go. So, like, I think that's what her thinking was. So keep the tribe strong. Try not to get down to 2 or 3 people, but have your tight alliance in there. And I think she knows Gabler has the idol and he's going to play it. She's the one who talked him out of doing the stupid shot in the dark thing. I think she feels really comfortable with him. And I think she's so tight with Justine that she has her 3. And I think she's already looking at it as, here's my 3, and I can beat both of them if I sit at final 3. Like, she walked into a really good position on day number 1. And I think that's why Mariah ended up being the first boot, not because of strength. So I have Ellie at number 5. I don't have Justine as high as you, and I don't have her at number 6.
Janine. I think you mean Janine.
Janine. Sorry. Yeah, Janine. Sorry.
You're good.
Janine, that's really going to
I know that's not helpful.
My brain. But with Janine, I don't have her quite as high just because if it was a strength-based vote, she is clearly the next person to be voted off. I don't think that's the case, but it's preventing me from keeping her at like 1, 2, 3, somewhere up there.
Yeah, definitely. I like Ellie. I'm just always nervous for the people who like make the first big move. Not even that there was a big move, but the person who like decides that somebody goes home. But I overall think she's pretty safe. And I think she could convince Gabler to play her idol for someone who isn't him, which very well could be the case. Yeah. I have Lindsay at number 7. I know that you already sort of spoke to her, but I think that tribe is looking good. I think that blue tribe is probably the safest tribe out there. And Lindsay had a really good first episode. I think we saw no flaws from her in the sense that there's no buildup or any reason for her to go home this week. So I think Lindsay's going to be fine.
Yeah, I would be really surprised if Lindsay was the one who went home here. At number 6, so I'll do my 6 and my 7. At number 6, I have Cassidy. I know we didn't hear much from her at all in this first episode. However, like what she said fits with what her edit was because she wants to remain low key. She wants to remain behind the scenes. She wants to do all that stuff. I think that works in her favor. She got enough confessionals that we know who she is. She wasn't like Janine got 1 confessional. I mean, that's pretty bad for a 2-hour premiere, especially when you're the tribe that goes to tribal council. Cassidy got 3. They weren't like the most monumental things in the world, but I do think that they were good enough. And I just don't see her being the target at this point if she goes.
Wow. Someone says here that this week is an hour, 30-minute episode. I heard that, but I didn't know if that was true or not. That would be
they're doing an hour and
awesome.
a half. I don't know why they don't just keep doing an hour and a half, but they're doing an hour. Maybe they're trying to test the waters.
I'm curious what how the TV schedule works on that.
Yeah.
But whatever. I'll take it.
Here's something interesting though. We have an hour and a half schedule or an hour and a half episode now. Which of these characters that really wasn't that well seen in this first episode are going to start becoming more visible? And I think Cassidy is one of those people who could become more visible. Again, I don't necessarily think the blue tribe is going to be the one that goes. If they are, I think Gio is probably in the most trouble there. And I'll talk about that when I get to him. but I just don't see it being Cassidy. I think that she's too under the radar. And really, she was executing her plan the way she wanted to. So I think that works in her favor. And then at number 7, I am going with Carla. So Carla, I think, as much as I'm going to keep like kind of making fun of her for saying I'm with every single person, I just don't see her going home. And I think that will really work in her favor. It's just at some point she's gonna have to make some hard decisions, and I just wonder if that's gonna happen or not.
Yeah, it's gonna have to happen. It's just a matter of will it happen?
Is she gonna make that hard decision, or is she gonna pull a Sarah Lucina from Kagayan and go home?
Yeah, I don't know if that could happen in episode 2 though.
That's true.
No. Yeah, I think it would be like in the merge if they're that tribe that never goes to tribal and then she gets in trouble at the merge. Okay, my number 8 is Neca, which I guess is like the halfway point, but I still think she's totally fine. She was definitely one of the more subdued people on that red tribe, which I think is going to be a good thing. She seems to be fine. I think, was it she and Jesse seemed to bond? And I think she's going to be totally safe. I don't see any reason for her to go home.
Yeah, I don't see any reason for Neca to go home either. The only reason I'm not putting her there is in case they pull a BS strength thing on this tribe now, and they say, oh, we don't want to vote out Cody because that would be bad, so let's vote out Neca. And then they vote out Neca. Like if Jesse decides he does want to go with Noel and Justine. I was trying to look at the edit here to determine which way I think Jesse is going to go ultimately with the tribe, because they showed so much with Cody and Neca and oh, everything's really good. And now we have Jesse and this is going to be good. And Jesse's confession was like, it's really good because I'm close with them. But also Noel and Justine are right here. And I'm like, is this like a Colby fake out from Heroes versus Villains where like we're not actually going to get a payoff for the second part of that statement? Or
it's like they're standing here.
Yeah, like, or is this actually what's going to happen? Like, so I really can't figure out which way that's going to go, which is why I'm a little bit lower on these people. Somebody I'm confident is not going to go home, though, is Owen, which might be a little high, him here, number 8. But my reason for putting Owen above like a Sammy or a Janine, one, Janine is probably the weakest person on that tribe at this point if they were voting based on that. Sammy really, really, really was pushing to be like Sammy and the women, Sammy and the women, Sammy and the women. And then Ellie was like, nah, we're good. We're going to move on and we're going to vote out Mariah. Yeah. And I just don't think it was a good look for Sammy. I don't think Sammy has much longevity in this game. His tribe would have to keep winning. I don't necessarily think that his tribe is going to lose this week, but if they do, I think he's in a lot of trouble. I don't see Owen being in trouble. Owen got a vote week 1, but Owen also, like, Mariah was voted out unanimously. It's not like Owen was the other option, but Owen wasn't actually the other option. And I just don't see him being voted out here. So I have him at number 8.
Yeah, I think Owen's totally fine. Okay, so we're caught up now. I have Cassidy at number 9. Kind of like what you said. I think, first of all, I think the blue tribe is fine. Second of all, I don't think Cassidy is like particularly controversial, and at this point that's a really good thing. I don't think there's any drama around her, and she made it very clear that she doesn't want that. So I think for the second episode she's going to be totally fine. We saw her talking to Carla. I don't really remember who else she was. I guess also Justine, because it was like the girls and James. So if that's it, that's 4, and then they're done.
Yeah, I mean, I think Cassidy's going to find a way to be a part of the Majority Alliance. And if she's in the Minority Alliance, I don't think she's going to be the first target from the Minority Alliance. My number 9 is Neca. Hardly got to know ye, but here we are. I just think it's hard because the new seasons of Survivor, they don't really follow the same pattern that like a lot of the older seasons followed. So it's hard to say, like, oh, she didn't have a good first episode, so that means like she's definitely gonna go home. She didn't have much, but like I feel like we like Neca after the first episode.
She didn't have a not good first episode.
Yeah, so I think like she's not really expendable, but then at the same time, like look at some of the people who finished 16th, 17th on recent seasons of Survivor, and they're people who are eating up a lot of screen time, or at least going early. JD and Brad were huge characters who went really, really early. So, but I have Neca here at number 9.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. Number 10, I have Cody. I know he's the star of the preview. I don't really know that he would go home early. I wouldn't be shocked because he's already like he's made enemies to us. Like he doesn't trust Dwight. He doesn't trust Justine. That's going to be really, really frustrating. One of them needs to go home, Justine or Janine, because I'm going to keep saying their names wrong. But I don't think they're going to get rid of him unless he is like deeply annoying. I see this going in a Bradley way where he's annoying for multiple episodes and then he goes home like right before the merge. Yeah.
Yeah, I also had Cody at number 10. The one big difference between Cody and Bradley is Cody's a massive, massive personality on the season. Bradley really was just kind of like Bradley was still kind of like low key as he went through, even though he was like kind of like the villain of that pre-merge.
Yeah.
Cody is a monster of a character, and I think with Cody, they're gonna try to it's gonna be Cody, it's gonna be Cody, I'm just not buying that it's going to be Cody. Like, I'm just not buying it. Like, he's too strong. I honestly think he's getting along with everybody on the tribe. I always go back to like, who's the person who mentioned the name? It was Dwight. What the hell does Dwight have to do with anybody on that tribe right now? Like, I just like Dwight definitely feels like he's on the outside, even though somebody did point out that he is wearing his buff like Bryce, which is pretty funny.
I love that.
I didn't really put that together, but that is funny. But he is just on the outside of what's kind of happening there, and he doesn't have a vote. So he can say he wants Cody all he wants, but he needs 3 other people to vote for Cody, and one of those people can't be Cody. So he's got to convince 3 of his 4 other tribe mates to vote out Cody in order for Cody to go home. And I just don't think Dwight has that kind of pull.
Yeah, I don't think so. And I also think right now, like you said, Cody's gelling with people. I'm sure he's coming off as like quirky, but it's not, I don't think anyone's like, man, this guy's a pain in the butt,
Yeah. Well, unless they're living.
Pun intended.
Hello.
Okay, that was
my 10. We both did our 10.
Okay, got it. So I have Ellie at 11, which is probably a little low, but I don't know. I could get like Molly vibes, or I'm just really nervous about the person who makes a first move. And I think it's shown that she didn't do what Sammy wanted. She convinced Gabler to change his mind. So all of these are really, really good moves, but I think early on they're just a little obvious. I think she's going to be totally safe, and I think there's a lot of other people on her tribe who are in a worse position than her, but I'm putting her low just because she did a lot very publicly.
I just think that, like, I don't think Ellie's move was as much of a move as it was
portrayed. Yeah, it's not a move. I don't think it's a move. What was that?
I was just asking, does that make sense?
That totally makes sense. I don't think it's a move. I just think early on, Ellie will look for any excuse to get rid of somebody. Mariah being strength makes no sense. And so I think Sammy could say, okay, well, we want to keep the Trem strong. Why don't we get rid of Ellie? She changed all of her minds. I don't know. I mean, she's at 11. I don't actually think she's very, very much going home, but I think early on people are going to look for an excuse to get rid of somebody if they've made themselves public.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, that makes sense. I think that Ellie was made more public to the fans than what was actually happening on the show.
Yeah.
Which, like, when I'm looking at that's why I have her ranked so high, and why I think that this was such a good episode for her, because I think that she was like, the editors put more of an emphasis and focus on what Ellie was doing than I think the other players out there. I don't think anybody is going back from tribal council with that yellow tribe right now saying, man, Ellie is such a power player. Whereas we kind of are. And I felt that way. Like, it feels like that was Ellie's move, and I keep calling it Ellie's move, and you're like, she made the first. But I just think that, like, ultimately it was still a 5-1 vote, but it's interesting that the editors gave it all from her perspective, because we heard almost nothing from Owen. Janine got 1 confessional. Mariah even going home didn't get much.
Yeah, she got very little for a 2-hour episode going home. And I know it's a first boot, and I know it's like, to the whole grand scheme of things, not a big deal, but that's like we barely even heard from her.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
So I get it though. Like, with how these recent seasons have gone, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Yeah, right.
My number 11 is Ryan.
Wow.
Yeah, I have him low. Ryan's a pretty strong guy though. Like, Ryan had a really good first episode. I think that's good. I don't know where his alliance is on this tribe. We saw Gio and Carlo really bonding. We saw Lindsay and James really bonding. Cassidy, we didn't really see bonding with anybody, but I think Cassidy, like I said, was playing her strategy to perfection, which
Yeah.
might not work for her, but it's what her strategy was. So she doesn't necessarily need to immediately bond with somebody. And she seemed like, oh, I'm making relationships. It's just honestly, like, what relationship is Cassidy gonna make in episode 1 that they're gonna want to focus on? Like, think about Gio and Carla. They had the LGBT thing, and then they have the fact that they're both immigrants, and like that's what they're gonna focus on in a premiere. Whatever Cassidy was gonna talk about with these people, they weren't gonna focus on in a premiere as like a here's my crazy backstory. So that's why I'm not too worried about her. Ryan, where is his alliance? I don't think it's going to matter the first time Blue goes to tribal, because ultimately, like, why would you vote out him? But especially when he was so good in that initial challenge and got them the supplies and all that. Because after him, it's a pretty weak tribe. It's a pretty weak tribe. Like I said, Lindsay and James are pretty strong, but like after Ryan, we saw Gio trying to carry those bricks or whatever. Could barely do it. I like that Gio's just willing to jump in and do whatever it takes. But if you're not the best at those things, jumping in to do whatever it takes really just sets you up to fail more than succeed. I think that's where Gio's at, which is going to help Ryan for a little bit. But Ryan's got to find a way to wiggle in, and maybe he's got to be the one. Him and Cassidy got to somehow find a way to get together. So,
yeah, that's a really good point that he doesn't really have an alliance. I think it's like, he's somebody who can benefit from not having a major alliance right now, but it's not going to last super long. So I definitely get that. We're at 12, right?
12.
I have Justine at number 12. So second lowest for the red tribe. I'm going to be honest, I don't really know why I have her low, because she did have a nice moment of like being the one to get the fire. But you do make a good point that she and Noel seem to be presented as Jesse's number 2 options. So I could see that potentially being problematic for her, but I really don't think she's going to be in too much trouble.
Yeah, I have Justine at 13 and I have Janine at 12, and they really need to change their names immediately.
You're going to always have them right next to each other.
I'm just like, I don't know why it's driving me so crazy, but I'm having such a hard time with it. Like, and it's funny because on this show, we've had people with the same name play on the same season. Like, and it never really like threw me off. I'd just be like, oh yeah, that's Kim Powers and that's Kim Johnson. Like, come on.
Obviously, because it's the different last names. These sound too similar.
They're too similar. And like when you're just kind of in the flow of speaking, you just start saying, Justine, Janine. It's like, I worked with a Blaze Blake. That was the worst thing ever, because every time I would just call them by each other's names. Well, those were 2 different people. But I would just keep calling them by each other's names because it's just in your head to say whichever one's front of center.
What a cool name.
But I have Janine at
Nailed
12.
it.
Janine at 12. Again, only from an edit perspective do I have Janine low. I think Janine is in a good position. I think her and Ellie are really tight. I think they're the tightest duo on that tribe. Owen and Sammy seem like they're kind of just like, who wants to take us in? And Gabler seems like he's just going to be used, but at least he has an idol. So I do think that Janine is safe, but I put her low just in case they lose again and they say we got to get rid of somebody weak or whatever they want to use as the excuse. Justine I have low, and I have Justine, Noel, and White all down here in like my bottom 5 people. 1, because I think Red is going to go to tribal based on the preview, but 2, because I just don't know where Jesse's going to go yet. And I agree. I think Justine had some good moments. I think she had a pretty good episode. I like what we got. She actually made the fire. When I put my mind to something, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, that's
like, it wasn't a larger than life episode, but there were moments in there for Justine. But Noel and her, like their alliance, I can't tell if that's actually going to be the alliance that Jesse goes with, especially right away. So yeah, I don't know what to make of it, but I have Justine here. This is my winner pick from preseason. I still think she can win, but I'm putting her down here for right now, just until I see that Red Tribe go to Tribal Council. Because if they go to Tribal Council, Justine could easily go home this week. And if Noel goes home, Justine's in a lot of trouble moving forward.
Yeah, if one of them goes home, then the other one will definitely have to make quite an adjustment. Yeah. My number 12 is Owen, which is honestly
13.
13, right?
12 was Justine.
Okay, sorry. My number 13 is Owen, which is probably way lower than he has any business being. However, I really don't know if he has an alliance. I think he, he wasn't really in trouble this week. His name came up, but it never seemed to be anyone's intention to actually get rid of him. I think what could be nerve-wracking is that he was definitely really shook that he got a vote, and I fear that he may go back and continue to overplay a little bit without a solid alliance. That being said, there's still Justine, who's physically smaller. There's still Sammy, who's a lot. There's still Gabler, who's a lot. All of them could be in trouble before Owen, but I think Owen already has like a little bit of a nervousness to him that could be could be made stronger after this tribal.
Yeah, well, my comparison for Owen is Adam Klein.
Yeah,
Adam Klein's
definitely.
Millennials vs. Gen X first boot was terrible. He had no idea it was going to be Mari. He had no idea that was going to happen. He was on the outside. Everybody thought he was in trouble right away, whatever. Big super fan, was trying to make alliances, really had a hard time, and then slowly kind of found his way into the game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where Owen's at. I don't think Owen had a bad first episode. He got a vote. I don't think that's something to be worried about.
Yeah.
However, he was talking about like, nobody wants to play at the pace I want to play. Nobody wants to do what I want to do. That's such a super fan mentality, but he wasn't doing it in the JD way where it was like, I'm going to go crazy and I'm just going to do whatever I have to do like to make this happen. And I'm going to force it. And I'm going to be paranoid that I'm going to go home and like all that stuff. He seemed pretty calm, cool, and collected. And I think him putting his head in his hands when he gets a vote at tribal, I think that could either be an edit from a different part of the tribal,
probably,
or he's just like, damn, I can't believe I got a vote. Like, I don't think he was ever worried about going home though. And I don't think he ever should have been worried that he was going to go home.
Yeah.
So I think he's got Adam Klein type like upside right now. I think he could really go and win this whole game. I don't think he's done. I just think the first boot didn't revolve around him because people weren't playing yet. I would not be surprised to see him and Ellie pair up at this point.
Yeah, because they're playing similarly.
Play the game.
Yeah, exactly. And I think out of everyone on that tribe, they seem to be the two that probably have the most commonality in terms of how they'd want to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at my 14, I have Noel.
Okay.
Again, like pretty much everything I said for Justine, I just think Noel is in more danger of going home.
Yep.
I don't really know why. It doesn't seem like she was clicking with anybody but Justine. Like Jesse mentioned things, but I don't think we ever saw Noel and Jesse talking, doing anything. So one thing I really liked about Noel, and obviously it's a different era and everything like that, and it's gonna be a lot harder for her to hide it than like Chad or something like that. But I did like that it was just like right off the bat, here's my story. This is what happened to me. Don't feel bad for me. I'm just pumped to be here. Yeah. I like that because it gets the elephant in the room and just like removes it, as opposed to sitting there and being like, what happened to your leg? Like what's going on? And like, it's in the back. You're not supposed to ask people that kind of stuff, but it's going to be in the back of your mind. That you're living with these people 24 hours a day. So I love that she did that.
That was smart.
But who is she bonding with? Who is she bonding with? Because it seems like if Jesse, Neca, and Cody do stay together, Dwight's kind of in the middle there. But Justine and Noel are the two who are over on the wrong side.
Yeah.
The only way that they don't go is if they actually are able to convince Jesse to work with them in some way. Can they convince him of that? I think they can, but there's a huge gray area there on if it's actually going to happen.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think Dwight being in the middle, like that sounds like everybody would just end up going for Dwight at that point, you know? Yeah. Would you mind going to your next one? And then I'll catch up.
Yeah. So I have 3 people left and they're all guys. So we can hear it for the boys here. I have all the guys at the final 3. I think we're going to get a guy going home here. At number 15, I have Sammy. So Sammy is the lowest person I have from that yellow tribe. Again, like probably overreacting to this first episode. I just don't think it was a very good episode for him. A lot of his ideas were like kind of shot down. He had a good episode at the beginning and it seemed to progressively get worse. And we see that a lot in early season boots where like people start to feel too comfortable and then they slowly become suddenly the person who's voted out of the game. So that's why I have Sammy there. Yellow could easily go to tribal again. And based on everything we were seeing, I don't really see it being Gabler. Like I said, I don't think it can be him. Ellie, I don't see it being her. Owen, I don't see it being him. Maybe Janine.
Yeah.
You think that Sammy could be like kind of a surprise early alpha type boot that people aren't really expecting. If he gets through this week and they don't go to tribal council, it becomes a little less shocking and he'll remain at the bottom of my power rankings, probably for as long as he's in the game.
Wow, that's tough. Phil had a Shih Tzu growing up, so that's why he feels this
That's
way.
what it was. That's what it was. Yeah.
I also have all guys in my bottom 4. So I have Gabler at number 14. And I know that's low, but I have in my head that Ellie's going to convince him to play it for somebody who's not him. And I could very well see that happening. So I know that sounds like a total shot to him, but right now I don't have a ton of confidence in how he's playing. That's probably a little too low for somebody who has guaranteed safety. However, I don't know. I didn't love what I saw strategically this first episode. And then to catch up with you, I have Gio at number 15. He's probably where I feel similar to him the way that you do about Ryan. Yes, we see him being close with Carla. I think I'm seeing a like Romeo sort of growth edit from him, but I think just in terms of who he's close to, I don't have a ton of confidence if his tribe were to go to tribal council, which I don't actually think is going to happen.
He feels like the Zach in that pairing. Like it feels like Carla would be the Romeo and he would be the Zach. Like they're bonding, whatever. Again, I respect that Gio just went out there and like is playing. I mean, he volunteers to go and carry the heavy stuff, even though he's not the strongest. He does the sweat portion of this. Like I respect all that stuff, but I have him at number 16. I think he's in trouble if his tribe goes. I just think he's the weakest person. I think he's made it too clear to his tribe that he is the weakest person on his tribe because he's put himself in the position to do these physical portions, allowing other people like Lindsay and Carla and Cassidy and James to be able to avoid those portions of the challenges and not show that they might be weak. Gio's showing it that he's weak. It's never a good place to be on a small tribe in Survivor. So that's why I have him at number 16, which puts me with Dwight at 17. Dwight has no vote. I think his tribe's going to go to tribal. I don't really know what his alliances are over there. Maybe they use him kind of for like a week or two, or because he's non-threatening, hey, we can get an easy 3-2 vote here. So let's make the 3-2 vote happen and then figure out what to do with Dwight later. Okay, that could make sense. But I just do not see Dwight making it very far in this game. And I think that if he doesn't go this week, he's going in one of the next like 2 or 3 weeks. I really think it's coming up soon.
Yeah, I have the same thing. So we have a similar bottom 3. So Sammy's my number 16, Dwight being 17. This is going to be really interesting with Dwight because I think this is the first time where they're not even at tribal council and every single person on the tribe knows that Dwight doesn't have a vote. It's not like some people know. Every single person knows this. And so I actually imagine, because why would we do anything simple in present day Survivor? He's actually probably safe because he doesn't really have allies. However, the fact that he was the first person to go off on the journey, Cody's already painting something against him. He doesn't really have allies and he doesn't have a vote. This feels like a very easy opportunity for Dwight to go home.
I agree. I totally agree. I just think it makes too much sense. I really do. But
it does make too much sense. And one thing that does bother me about modern day Survivor is it's never an easy now. And I know it's exciting, but also can sometimes be a little like a lot.
Yeah. I think your microphone just unplugged, but that's okay. I can hear you, but it just
sorry.
All of a sudden I heard the whole room too. But yeah, that's
gosh.
better. Yeah, I agree. But hey, we've seen some weird stuff in these recent seasons of Survivor.
True.
You know, like weird boots that you're not expecting going, you know, at times when you're like, oh, this person's gonna be totally safe, and then they're just toast. So yeah, we'll see what ends up happening with Dwight, but I just don't have high hopes. But I could see, I mean, hey, these people could use him. Because he can't do anything this week. Like that's the thing. If Jesse really the way they portrayed Jesse was he's between Cody and Neca and Justine and Noel. If that's the truth, it doesn't matter about Dwight this week. Jesse
doesn't
gets
matter.
To make his move, vote whatever side he wants to, and they can vote out Dwight the next time. Like, so that's where it's tough, and that's why I also have those two, Justine and Noel, pretty low, just in case that ends up being the case. And I also have Neca. I think I had Neca at like 9 or 10. So I had her a little bit lower too. But anyway, if you're a $20 patron, make sure to submit your power rankings by the East Coast premiere time. So like once the East Coast episode starts, power rankings close. Rank them 1 to 17, with 17 being your most likely to get voted out of the game. That's all you got to do. Email it to us, survivorspecialist@gmail.com, or you can try to send it to us a different way. But please, if you can email it. It's just the easiest way for us to keep track of everything and really have it all going. Although I do know that there's a couple people who sent me their fantasy games through Facebook and stuff like that, and I just got to put them in there.
Awesome. Okay, cool. And we are going to be live at 9:30 Eastern, which is very exciting because we're going to have an hour and a half episode. Again, I'm really excited about this. I'm curious if they're going to change anything, but I kind of hope they did what they did with the premiere, where we just get a lot of content about a lot of different people instead of maybe forcing 2 tribal councils. But I don't think that's going to happen. So
I haven't heard anything about 2 tribals.
Yeah. So stay tuned for that. We'll be back, and have a great morning, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.